Have you ever felt that you're doing everything right to manifest, yet your reality doesn't move even a millimeter? That silent frustration, that constant attempt to visualize, repeat affirmations, write down desires, and maintain a high vibration, but without seeing any real change. It's not your fault. It's the model you were taught. And the most unsettling part is that quantum physics has already shown why this happens to you, even though almost no one explains it with precision. They told you that manifesting requires complicated rituals, endless steps, and a kind of spiritual effort you must sustain at all costs. They conditioned you to believe that if you are not repeating affirmations every day or visualizing with perfect intensity, then you're not doing enough. The real key is not abandoning affirmations or meditations. It's using them from the right state. A deep affirmation works when your body recognizes it as possible, not when you repeat it from tension or need. And a meditation transforms your reality when it regulates your system and brings you into coherence, not when you use it to escape fear. The tools are still powerful. What changes is the state from which you apply them. But here is the fundamental break. In the quantum world, effort is not power, it's interference. Reality does not respond to how hard you push, but to the signal you emit as the observer. And that signal is not determined by a single isolated thought, but by the coherence between your mind, your emotions, and your internal state. Most people approach manifestation from a paradigm that disconnects them more than it connects them. They try to force an outcome while their body is still vibrating in fear, in scarcity, or in survival. They repeat, "I am abundant," while their nervous system tenses up as they check their bank account. They visualize love, while their heart continues to anticipate rejection. They try to attract opportunities, while their attention stays fixated on what's missing. This internal contradiction is exactly what the physics of the observer describes. If your signal is incoherent, the field does not collapse the possibility you desire. It collapses the one that matches your dominant vibration. And this is where the part that almost no one wants to admit comes in. If you keep applying the techniques the way you were taught, you will continue recreating your past, because what determines your manifestation is not the technique itself, but the state from which you do it. If you do it from need, you keep projecting need. If you do it from fear, you keep collapsing futures aligned with that fear. If you do it from effort, you create quantum friction. If you feel that this information is awakening something within you, you're welcome to join us more closely. Subscribing is simply a reminder to return to this space whenever you need to recalibrate your quantum identity. The disruptive truth at the beginning is this: manifesting is not complex. It's your understanding that has been incomplete. You are not lacking strength, discipline, or motivation. What you're lacking is a deep understanding of how the quantum field operates and why your reality only moves when you move internally. And if this idea already makes you feel slightly uncomfortable, wait until you hear the part almost no one teaches: the exact explanation of how the field responds to your coherence or your incoherence, and how that invisible mechanism has been determining your life without you noticing. This is where manifestation stops being a mystery and starts becoming precise. It's fascinating how, when you begin to understand that reality responds to the coherence of the observer and not to effort, something inside you recognizes that there is a deeper piece behind all of this. That intuition is the entry point into the real quantum foundation, the field of possibilities. Modern physics describes this field as a space where all potentialities exist simultaneously, waiting for the signal of an observer to collapse into a concrete experience. It is not a metaphorical concept. It is a measurable principle that explains why your internal state determines which version of reality becomes solid before you. Every decision you make, From how you respond to a message to the emotion you sustain as you begin your day, acts as a quantum selector. It doesn't select with words or with isolated affirmations, but with the vibration that organizes your thoughts, emotions, and actions. When these three are not in sync, the field receives contradictory signals, just like a radio trying to capture two different frequencies at the same time. The result is not clarity, it's noise. The science that studies observer behavior has demonstrated that reality collapses according to the most dominant state, not the most desired one. This is why when you try to force a result, the only thing you generate is quantum friction. Forcing is trying to make a possibility materialize while your body vibrates in the opposite possibility. It is wanting to move forward while your system is anchored in survival. It is like trying to swim against a current that you yourself are creating. Imagine this metaphor. The quantum field works like an extremely sensitive water surface. When you are aligned, your internal signal falls onto that surface like a clean drop that generates ordered and coherent waves. But when you act from incoherence, thinking one thing, feeling another, and doing something different, your signal falls like a handful of stones thrown at random. The water cannot reflect anything precisely. It only produces distortion. And that distortion is what you receive back in the form of confusing results, blockages, or repetitions of the past. Everyday examples make it even clearer. You say you want abundance, but you spend the day compulsively checking your bank account. You claim you want love, but your mind anticipates rejection every time someone doesn't respond the way you expect. You declare you want peace, but you react with tension to every email or every unforeseen event. In all those moments, the signal you send to the field does not come from your desire, but from your sustained vibration. And when that vibration is incoherent, the field collapses possibilities that match that internal disorder. If you want to integrate what you've just understood, write in the comments the word that best represents your chosen state today. Just one. And subscribe to keep that vibration active every time you return. The most striking realization is understanding that most people use the quantum field against themselves without even noticing it. Not because they are broken, but because no one ever taught them how the interaction between their internal state and the possibilities around them really works. Understanding this isn't just knowledge, it's liberation. But this is where almost everyone sabotages their own manifestation, because they don't know what the central human error is, the one that fractures the signal and collapses realities they do not want. It becomes obvious that if most people sabotage their manifestation without knowing it, there must be a deep psychological pattern operating beneath everything. That pattern is precisely what reveals the central human error. We all experience it, even when we believe we are doing our best. And it begins with an incoherence that usually goes unnoticed. Thinking one thing, feeling another, and acting in a completely different way. That internal fracture is what determines which signal the quantum field receives, because the field does not respond to your desires. It responds to your vibrational coherence. Here is where the distinction that completely transforms the understanding of manifestation appears. The observer you believe is creating your reality, your conscious mind, is not the one in control. The true observer, the one collapsing your possibilities at every moment, is your subconscious. That part of you that operates automatically, that interprets threats, anticipates risks, and repeats old stories, is the part sustaining 95% of your daily vibration. This is why you can say, "I want to move forward," but your body still vibrates as if something bad is about to happen. How many times do you check your phone looking for a reply that reassures you everything is fine? How many times do you open your banking app hoping to feel relief, only to find more tension? What happens inside you when someone takes long to respond, when you read an ambiguous message, When you perceive a look that you interpret as rejection, which part of you is reacting there? It's not your conscious desire. It's your deep programming responding before you can even think. Notice your body for a moment. Did it tense up while reading any of those examples? That automatic reaction is your subconscious revealing itself. It is the reflection of a vibration that does not always match what you say you want. And as long as that vibration remains anchored in fear, negative anticipation, or need, the field will continue collapsing realities that match that signal. Not because you are bad at manifesting, but because your system is acting exactly as it was designed to, prioritizing survival over expansion. The frequency of fear is one of the most powerful saboteurs, not because of its intensity, but because of its consistency. It doesn't always feel like terror. Sometimes it's a slight discomfort, a sigh, a doubt, a tension in the chest, a fleeting thought of, what if everything goes wrong? It is that micro-contraction that collapses limited possibilities. And the most unsettling part is that it happens thousands of times a day without you noticing it. As long as you observe your life from fear, you will keep collapsing what you do not want. As long as your attention stays focused on what is missing, you will keep reinforcing that same experience. And as long as your body continues responding to past scenarios as if they were present, you will repeat the same pattern again and again, disguised as new circumstances. This diagnosis is not meant to blame you, but to free you. When you understand that the central error is not in your desire, nor in your technique, nor in your discipline, but in the incoherence between your internal systems, you stop fighting yourself. You stop believing that you are broken. You begin to see that what you need is not more willpower, but a new way of observing. Because everything changes when you understand the true quantum principle. You do not attract what you desire. You attract what you are. It is revealing to discover that you do not attract what you desire, but what you are, because this understanding opens the door to a much deeper principle. Identity is the frequency that organizes your reality. The quantum field does not respond to isolated thoughts or to your most intense desires. It responds to the vibration you sustain continuously, to the way you perceive yourself, to the inner story you live even when no one is watching. That vibration is what the field recognizes as your primary signal, and it is what determines which possibilities collapse in front of you. True manifestation does not occur when you repeat what you want, but when you embody the version of yourself who already has it. It is in that state of internal alignment that possibilities begin to reorganize in your favor. When you act from need, when you vibrate from "I do not have," the field interprets that signal and keeps you within that same experience. But when your identity shifts toward "I am," toward the expanded version of yourself, your vibration stops asking and begins to match what you desire. Here is the quantum paradox that so many misunderstand. Letting go is not giving up. It is stopping the habit of holding the frequency of lack. It is not abandoning a dream, but releasing the urgency that blocks it. Urgency, although it feels like motivation, is a vibration of absence. It is the energetic equivalent of trying to hold water in your hands by squeezing harder. The more you press, the less stays with you. If this message resonated with you, join this community. Subscribing is not an external gesture. It is a way of telling your future, I am ready to sustain this frequency. A metaphor makes it even clearer. Manifesting from lack is like trying to hear clear music on a radio that is permanently out of tune. You can turn up the volume, tap the device, or repeat the name of the song over and over. But as long as the frequency does not match, you will never hear what you want. Identity works the same way. No matter how much you desire an external change, if the internal frequency aligns with "I am not," you will keep receiving noise, confusion, or repetitions of the past. What is transformative is that your identity is not fixed. It is a moldable vibration that adjusts based on your internal decisions. Every time you choose to think, feel, or act as the future version of yourself, you are tuning into a new frequency. And it is that tuning, not insistence, that activates movement in the quantum field. Change does not begin in what you do, but in who you decide to be while you do it. This revelation marks an essential turning point because it breaks the traditional logic of, when I have it, then I will be. At the quantum level, the order is reversed. When you are, then you have. When you vibrate as the version of you who desires love, love finds its way. When you vibrate as someone who lives in abundance, abundance becomes natural. When you vibrate as someone who trusts, life responds with clarity. But a critical question arises, one that determines the entire process. What does the quantum field actually interpret when it observes your vibrational identity? That answer is the scientific piece that explains why some people radically change their lives, and others repeat the same story over and over. And to understand it, you need to understand the coherence between your heart and your mind. The real impact happens when you understand what the quantum field is interpreting every time it observes you. Because that reading does not come only from your rational mind, but from the entire system that forms your vibrational identity. And in that system, the heart plays a far more decisive role than we usually imagine. For decades, it was believed that the brain was the absolute center of perception and meaning-making. However, research by experts like Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, and the HeartMath Institute demonstrated that the heart emits an electromagnetic field up to 50 times more powerful than the brain's. This field not only informs your nervous system, it also interacts with the environment, modulating the way the quantum field reads your internal state. When we speak of coherence, we are not referring to an emotional metaphor. We are referring to a measurable phenomenon. When the heart and brain synchronize their rhythms, the electromagnetic field becomes ordered, focused, and stable. And when that happens, the signal you emit is clear. This point is crucial because the quantum observer is not only your conscious mind. The primary observer is your subconscious, the part of you that processes more than 90% of your emotional and physiological responses without your awareness. If your subconscious is programmed to anticipate rejection, scarcity, or danger, that emotional information becomes the dominant signal you project. It does not matter how much you affirm the opposite in your mind. The field responds to the vibration you actually sustain. What do you think reality reflects when your heart emits fear, tension, or distrust? That is the language the field recognizes. This is where science begins to have a profound impact. Studies in the field of neurocardiology show that the heart sends more information to the brain than it receives. This means that your emotions are not just reactions, they are commands. The physiology of the heart influences how you think, what you focus on, and the decisions you make. When the heart is in incoherence, due to stress, anxiety, frustration, or fear, the brain operates in survival modes, restricting possibilities and collapsing limited realities in front of you. Breathe. Notice whether your chest opens or tightens as you hear this. That internal reaction is not random. It's your system showing you how you've been collapsing realities for years without realizing it. If your chest tightens, it's a sign that your subconscious has been holding emotions the field interprets as instructions. If you feel openness, it means your system recognizes a truth it has been trying to communicate to you for a long time. The fascinating part of all this is that heart-mind coherence does not require perfection or elevated states that are hard to reach. It requires emotional authenticity and a clear intention. When your thoughts align with what you feel and with the way you act, your electromagnetic field becomes ordered. And in that order, the signal you send stops being noise and becomes a readable frequency for the quantum field. Manifestation stops being randomness and becomes consequence. This scientific foundation dissolves the idea that the quantum world is mystical or inaccessible. In reality, it is profoundly human. It is the result of how you breathe, how you remember, how you interpret what happens to you, how your nervous system moves, and which emotional frequency you sustain repeatedly. When you understand this dynamic, you begin to see that every emotion is a micro-vibrational decision, and every thought is a fine adjustment in your internal signal. To anchor this information into your field, comment the phrase, "I choose my frequency." That act creates a point of coherence. If you want to continue strengthening this process, you can subscribe and walk this expansion with us. All this understanding becomes even clearer when we bring it into real, concrete situations from your daily life, where coherence, or the lack of it, shows up in ways you may have never noticed. This is the bridge into the next level of clarity, seeing how all of this operates in the everyday, your relationships, your money, and your health. Because that is where the quantum field responds with the greatest intensity. The scientific understanding of how your heart and mind shape your reality becomes even more revealing when you observe it in the space where everything truly happens. Your daily life. It is there, in conversations, small decisions, and automatic reactions, where your internal field is collapsing specific realities without your awareness. Think first about love. Many people believe their relationships fail because of incompatibility or bad luck. But at the quantum level, something much deeper usually occurs. Anticipated rejection. When someone approaches you with interest, but your subconscious still holds memories of abandonment or pain, your field emits signals of doubt even before you speak. The conversation becomes tenser. Your response is more controlled, your gaze more defensive. Do you notice it? Before the relationship has any chance to begin, you are already collapsing the scenario where something goes wrong, not because you want to sabotage yourself, but because your internal observer is still vibrating from fear. Where do you feel this in your body right now? Maybe your stomach tightens, or your chest contracts. Those tensions are micro-instructions that the field reads as "protect yourself," and from there, deep connections become almost impossible. In the realm of money, something similar happens, although with an even more invisible nuance. Many people believe that scarcity is due only to a lack of opportunities, but in reality, their nervous system is governing the experience. Notice a common pattern: compulsively checking the bank account. That impulse reveals that the internal identity is still vibrating from lack. Even if you repeat that you want abundance, your body is still expecting that something will go wrong. And every time you check your balance, hoping to feel relief, you send the field the signal that you do not trust the process. That vibration is not expansion, it is vigilance. Can you remember a recent purchase where you felt guilt, doubt, or fear? Those micro-fears are fractures in your coherence that end up collapsing more experiences of limitation. The tension appears, but when you recognize it, relief also emerges as you see that it is not destiny, but programming. Health is the third territory, where manifestation acts with the greatest intensity. When your body enters defense mode, it interprets every signal as a threat. It doesn't matter if it's mild pain, a sense of fatigue, or a small symptom. The reactive mind amplifies the danger. The heart emits fear, and your entire biology reorganizes itself to survive, not to heal. In this state, energy does not flow toward restoration, but toward protection. You can feel it: tense shoulders, shallow breathing, clenched jaw. Where in your body does your first reaction appear when you think about your health? That area is the point where your subconscious has been collapsing realities of worry instead of vitality. The tension may increase when you recognize it, but at the same time, A subtle relief appears when you understand that this reaction does not define you. It is only a learned pattern. These three examples, love, money, and health, reveal the same quantum logic. Your internal field is always creating coherence with the identity you sustain, not with the desire you express. Tension arises when you realize how many times you have collapsed the future without wanting to. But by seeing the pattern, a small relief appears. It wasn't incapacity, it was incoherence. And what is incoherent can be adjusted. This is where everything begins to change, but only if you know how to regulate your state. Because it's not enough to recognize the patterns. You need to learn how to move your body and your frequency toward a different vibration. Before moving forward, take a brief moment of internal pause. Notice how your body feels right now. This connection is your first spark of coherence, the bridge toward the true change of the next module. It's likely that after observing how your internal patterns shape love, money, and health, a subtle tension remains in your body, as if a part of you recognizes that it has been operating from a state it didn't consciously choose. That very tension is the perfect signal to introduce a small shift, one so simple that it often goes unnoticed, yet it can transform the entire direction of your reality. Without telling you to inhale or exhale, allow yourself to notice for a moment how your body is moving right now. Observe whether your shoulders are slightly raised or whether your chest feels tight. Sometimes, it's enough to simply register that sensation for the body to release a bit of the weight it was carrying without realizing it. It's a minimal adjustment, almost imperceptible, but enough to create a micro-opening inside. And within that micro-opening, a different sensation appears. A small relief, a space where something loosens and your system reorganizes itself. That contrast between the previous tension and this hint of softness is the first sign that you are entering a more coherent state. From that place, you can do something simple yet powerful. Choose an intention for your week, not as a mechanical affirmation, but as an act of clarity. Think of a word that captures how you want to hold yourself internally. Calm, expansion, focus, trust, openness. The first one that appears is usually the one your system is already seeking. Naming it is not a ceremonial act. It is a quantum reminder, a way of telling the field, this is the frequency I am choosing to sustain. And if this process has sparked a small internal recognition, if you have felt that micro shift in your body, I invite you to walk this path with us more closely. You can share in the comments the word you chose as your intention, or simply continue exploring this space. This is not a commercial invitation. It is a way to expand a community that co-regulates, that trains coherence, and that grows from the same kind of consciousness you are activating now. What's interesting is that this calm you are beginning to feel is not a minor detail. It is the entryway to a completely different level of manifestation. And now that you feel this calm, I'm going to show you why no one can manifest without it. Because the next step reveals the vibrational antagonist that blocks everything. The impulse to control. The softness you just experienced contrasts with a pattern that, for most people, activates the moment they attempt to change their life. The impulse to take back control. That almost automatic return reveals more than it seems, because it doesn't arise from bad intention, but from an internal system conditioned to survive, not to create. When the mind perceives uncertainty, it turns to what it knows, monitoring, anticipating, tensing up, trying to dominate every detail. What few recognize is that this impulse to control comes directly from fear. Not a dramatic fear, but a silent one. The fear that things won't go well, the fear of repeating wounds, the fear of losing something valuable, the fear of making a mistake. That fear translates into hypervigilance, a state where every stimulus is interpreted as a possible threat, and your body reacts accordingly. In that state, you are not manifesting possibilities. You are trying to avoid dangers. Consider a few everyday examples. You check your phone every few minutes, waiting for a message that confirms that everything is okay. You log into your bank account again to make sure there are no surprises, searching for a sense of security that never arrives. You replay conversations over and over to see if you said something wrong. You imagine negative scenarios before making an important decision, as if anticipating the problem could prevent it. Does it feel familiar? Which part of you is trying to control because it doesn't trust the process? That question, although uncomfortable, opens an important door. Here is where an inevitable negative anticipation appears. When you try to control the quantum field, you reinforce the same internal state that blocks your manifestation. Control does not create order. It creates friction. The field does not respond to your effort to guarantee the result. It responds to the vibration you emit while you try to guarantee it. And when that vibration is fear, urgency, or distrust, what collapses is more uncertainty, more waiting, more tension. Not as punishment, but because the field faithfully mirrors the state of the observer. Even so, it is essential to understand that this pattern does not make you flawed or weak. It is a biological reflection. The human brain is designed to prioritize survival, not growth. When it detects risk, real or imagined, it activates control circuits to try to reduce the sense of vulnerability. Recognizing this should bring relief, not blame. It shows you that you haven't been manifesting from fear because of lack of ability, but because your system was trying to protect you. That recognition softens the internal tension, allowing judgment to turn into understanding. Observe how this dynamic of tension and relief works. When you see the magnitude of the control you've been exerting without noticing it, a small internal knot appears. But when you understand that it is a learned mechanism, one that we all share, a subtle release emerges. You feel that you are not broken. You were simply acting from a state that was never designed to create possibilities, only to avoid them. And that understanding opens space for something deeper, the regulation of your state. Because control doesn't deactivate by fighting against it. It dissolves when your system learns another way to feel safe. And that safety does not come from monitoring external reality, but from reorganizing the internal one. What comes next is the missing piece in almost all manifestation methods, the component that transforms theory into real results. To move beyond control, you need a practice that few teach, the quantum regulation of your state. The missing piece in almost all manifestation methods opens a path that, unlike control, does not harden your system, but reorganizes it from within. This understanding leads you directly to the practice that transforms everything. Learning to regulate your state, tune into the identity you want to embody, and consciously choose the timeline from which you are going to live. Regulation does not mean breathing in a specific way or entering a meditative state. It means noticing when your body is reacting from survival and bringing it back to a place where it can perceive possibilities instead of threats. It is an internal gesture, feeling how your shoulders drop a few millimeters, how your chest regains openness, how your jaw stops clenching. These are physiological signals indicating that you have shifted from incoherence to greater internal order. Once that micro-adjustment occurs, the energy that was previously trapped in tension becomes available for choosing, not just reacting. From that regulation emerges the second step, tuning. This is not imagining or wishing. It is recognizing which version of you is taking control in that moment. The conditioned, fearful version trying to make sure everything goes well. or the future version who already lives from expansion, clarity, and trust. Tuning is an internal identity shift, not an intellectual act. When you honestly ask yourself, what would the future version of me decide right now? You force your system to step out of autopilot and reorganize itself around your expanded self. Here comes the third step: choosing. Every micro decision you make activates a timeline. You don't need to change your whole life in a single day. One coherent choice is enough to break the repetition. Think of a concrete example. You receive a message that triggers anxiety, and your automatic impulse is to check your phone again and again, looking for some signal of reassurance. That is a choice made from lack, from an observer who does not trust. But if you choose not to check, if you decide to stay in your present moment and respond from calm, you are activating a completely different timeline. One where you are not seeking external confirmation, but sustaining an internal frequency. This process is not esoteric, it is observable. You can feel it in the quality of your decisions, in how your body reorganizes itself, in the way your inner dialogue changes. To regulate, tune, and choose is not a complicated technique. It is a daily practice that, once integrated, redefines the way you relate to reality. A sense of internal mastery begins to appear, as if for the first time you understood that you do not need to control anything outside of you to create a different result. You need to direct your state, because it is your state that collapses reality. The most powerful part is that this process gives you responsibility without guilt. It does not demand perfection. It asks for presence. It shows you that manifesting is not an extraordinary act, but a series of choices that, when sustained, reconfigure your internal field until the external world has no option but to respond. But none of this works if you don't understand the deepest principle of all, the one that determines why some changes hold and others fade. That principle completely redefines manifestation. The process of regulating your state, tuning into your future identity, and choosing from coherence would not have so much power if it weren't supported by a deeper principle, one that runs through every decision, every emotion, and every result that appears in your life. That principle reveals that manifestation does not respond to what you imagine achieving, but to the vibration you embody while trying to achieve it. This is where theory becomes experience. You manifest what you are, not what you desire. Although it sounds simple, this idea completely reorganizes the internal understanding of the process, because you can desire abundance while your body vibrates scarcity. You can want love while your system continues anticipating rejection. You can ask for clarity while your mind continues emitting doubt. Reality does not mirror your mental intentions, it mirrors your vibrational state. That state is what the quantum field recognizes as your primary frequency. Imagine a radio for a moment. It doesn't matter how many times you repeat the name of the station you want to hear, or how much you crave a specific song. The radio can only play what matches the frequency it is tuned to. You can turn the volume up, hit the device, or beg for something else to play. But as long as the frequency doesn't change, you will continue receiving the same noise. Manifestation works the same way. Your life does not reflect your desires. It reflects the internal signal you sustain daily. This is where it becomes clear that vibration is not the same as desire. Desire can be elevated, inspiring, even legitimate. But if your vibration is influenced by fear, urgency, or lack of trust, the signal you send to the field does not match the experience you seek. Vibration is built through your inner dialogue, the way you react, how your body moves when something triggers you. It is a sum of micro-frequencies that together form your state of being. And this understanding can create a certain internal pressure, as if you needed absolute perfection in order to manifest. But coherence does not demand perfection. Coherence is a return, not a fixed state. It is the ability to come back again and again to the frequency you choose, even after drifting away. Think of a pendulum that swings. Its strength is not in remaining still, but in always returning to its point of balance. A scientific metaphor can make this even clearer. When two waves match in frequency, they generate constructive interference. They amplify each other. They strengthen. They create an ordered pattern. When they are out of phase, they produce destructive interference. They cancel each other out. They generate noise. They create vibrational chaos. Your emotional state works the same way. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions vibrate at the same frequency, your inner field creates coherence. When they are misaligned, your signal becomes confused, and reality collapses inconsistent scenarios. Pause for a second. Feel what it means to live from a frequency that does not match what you desire. Not to blame yourself, but to recognize that for years, you've been trying to manifest results from a signal that was saying something else. That small internal pause allows the idea to settle more deeply than any theory. It is a moment where your identity begins to shift. The question then becomes inevitable. What frequency are you living in without realizing it? The answer does not come from thinking about it, but from observing how you behave under pressure, what internal story you repeat when no one is looking, and how your body organizes itself when you face uncertainty. That frequency is your true starting point. Understanding this is not judgment, it is liberation. It means the power was never outside. It means you have not failed at manifesting. You have simply manifested from a state you did not choose consciously. And now that you see it clearly, internal responsibility no longer feels heavy. It becomes direction. The next step is to sustain the chosen frequency. Not just activate it once, but live from it until it becomes your new vibrational identity. Because that sustaining is what reorganizes your internal field, and over time, rewrites your external reality. Sustaining a frequency is not an isolated event. It is a continuous movement that extends throughout the day and defines how your reality organizes itself. When you understand that your vibrational identity is the true engine of manifestation, it becomes evident that every moment, from the moment you open your eyes until you go to bed, is an opportunity to reaffirm who you are choosing to be within the field. Integrating that frequency into your daily routine does not require complexity, but consistency. The key is to use the morning, the day, and the night as 3 strategic moments where the quantum observer can recalibrate. The morning is the first point of inflection. It is the moment when your brain is most malleable and your emotional system most receptive. Before the external world drags you into its rhythms, you can choose your own. A simple and practical ritual, not a mystical one, is enough to anchor the frequency you want to sustain. It can be forming a clear intention that acts as an internal compass, recognizing the emotional state from which you want to operate today, and making one micro-coherent choice that sets direction. Something as simple as responding to an anxious thought with an internal phrase that reaffirms your future identity, or making one small decision aligned with that version of you, can reorient the entire narrative of the day. It's not about doing more, it's about beginning from identity. During the day, recalibration happens in the most ordinary scenarios. Every time you receive a message that unsettles you, when you walk to work, in the way you greet someone, in how you respond to an unexpected comment, or when you find yourself facing a difficult email. All of those moments are vibrational nodes where you choose between acting from your past or from your future. Even standing in a line, interpreting a look, or noticing discomfort in your body can become spaces to return to your chosen frequency. This is where the practice becomes real. You are not trying to control yourself, but observing how your system reacts and redirecting your state without pressure. Active questions help you return. What would the version of you that already lives in its chosen timeline do when someone interrupts you, contradicts you, or triggers frustration? Would that version respond from urgency or from presence? Would it tense up or maintain its internal direction? These questions are not theoretical. They reorganize your biology in real time. The night serves a different but equally crucial function. It is the vibrational closing of the day, the moment when your system records the emotional narrative it will consolidate during sleep. From neuroscience, we know that the brain reinforces what it perceives as meaningful right before falling asleep. Here, gratitude does not act as a romantic gesture, but as a regulatory mechanism that reduces internal noise, reorganizes the interpretation of the day, and amplifies coherence between heart and mind. Acknowledging 3 moments when you acted aligned with your future identity, even if they were small, instructs the subconscious to consolidate that pattern as your new normal. It is a brief gesture, but it profoundly affects the way your body and your field process the experience. As you continue these practices, something important begins to reveal itself. Sustaining the frequency is not about doing it perfectly, but about returning to it every time you deviate. That coherent repetition is what transforms your vibrational identity and, with it, your results. Integrating the chosen frequency into morning, day, and night is what allows the principle you manifest what you are to become lived experience, not theory. And although this process already has a profound impact when you do it on your own, there is a final element that amplifies your results exponentially. And this is where the reason appears for why doing it alone is not always enough. There comes a point in the process where sustaining the chosen frequency stops being purely an individual act and begins to turn into a shared phenomenon. When you recognize that your quantum identity strengthens through each daily decision, it also becomes evident that the environment you are immersed in either amplifies or distorts that internal state. Not because you are weak, but because human beings are biologically designed to co-regulate their energy through social interaction. Your nervous system, your emotional field, and your internal coherence all respond automatically to the signals of your surroundings. Science confirms it. We share vibrations, patterns, and internal states with the people around us. In an environment charged with fear, constant criticism, or negativity, your body goes into defense even when you are not fully aware of it. Just spending a few minutes with someone who lives in anxiety is enough to notice how your chest tightens, how your mind speeds up, or how your thoughts lose clarity. It is in these micro-adjustments that your frequency shifts, not because of lack of discipline, but because your field tries to synchronize with the predominant field around it. That is the tense part of the process. You may be doing everything right internally, but if the environment vibrates in incoherence, your system gets pulled into it. Relief appears when you understand the opposite effect. Being surrounded by people who are also working on their coherence, their future identity, and their quantum expansion creates a type of synchrony that elevates your own state. The right community acts as an energetic amplifier. It reinforces your decisions, sustains your frequency when it weakens, and reminds you of who you are choosing to become. Transformation accelerates not because of group pressure, but because your system recognizes a more stable field and naturally aligns with it. In fact, that is the foundation of all co-regulation. When the environment vibrates in the direction of your future, you do too. This is why the question becomes inevitable. Who is influencing your field without you noticing? It is not a minor issue, it is an essential quantum component. Your identity, your choices, and your frequency grow stronger when you walk alongside a community that vibrates in the same expansion. And in this channel, that space exists to remind you, again and again, of the direction in which you are evolving. It seems that after moving through all these layers, something inside you begins to settle into a wider space. A space where the information is not only understood, but recognized as true. This is the exact point where identity begins to reconfigure itself. Because you are not here only to apply techniques or repeat concepts. You are here to remember what is essential. You are the observer, and at the same time, you are the field. You are not a visitor inside reality, but the consciousness that gives it shape. When you understand this, manifestation stops feeling like an external process you are trying to reach and begins to appear as the natural reflection of who you choose to be. Your timeline is not a fixed line nor a predetermined destiny. It is a frequency you choose moment by moment, and every choice, every internal state, every emotional response adjusts the vibration from which your experiences collapse. It is not magic. It is quantum coherence applied to identity. Feel for 3 seconds who you are being right now. It is not an instruction to stop, but an invitation to notice the vibration you are producing in this instant. That vibration, your state of being, is the signal the field interprets before your words, your desires, or your efforts. And when you choose that state consciously, you reclaim the role that always belonged to you, the role of creator. This is where expansion becomes inevitable. Because when you remember that you are the one choosing the frequency that sustains your life, you stop looking outside for what is born within. You recognize that reality doesn't respond to what you ask for, but to what you embody. And in that recognition, your identity strengthens, your energy organizes itself, and your path begins to align in a more precise way. This closing is not meant to give you a final conclusion, but to open a new starting point. One in which you no longer walk as someone trying to manifest, but as someone who knows that every thought, emotion, and decision shapes their field. And with that clarity, you are ready for the next step, activating a quantum signal that will accompany you beyond this video. There is a moment, right after recognizing your creator identity, where the energy remains open, as if your field were waiting for the next gesture that confirms the direction you chose. That is the perfect space to seal this experience through intention, not as a symbolic act, but as a quantum declaration of who you are deciding to be. Your word is your quantum signal today. Choose one, something that represents the frequency you want to sustain. Clarity, expansion, trust, openness, coherence, and write it. That small act is not trivial. It is a vibrational anchor that strengthens your future identity in the field. If you feel that this path resonates with you, you can stay here. This channel is not a place of consumption. It is a space of collective expansion where each person strengthens the vibration of the rest. Subscribing is not an external gesture, but a gentle commitment with yourself, with your process, and with the frequency you are choosing to live. Carry this truth with you. Your state is the signal that creates your reality. And every time you return, you will remember it again. When you finish this video, take a moment to anchor what you learned today. If this perspective opened something new within you, you can remain in this space. Subscribing is a gentle way to remind yourself that you are not walking alone in this process. And before you go, tell me in the comments from which country you are watching. I love seeing how this field expands to different places in the world. And remember something important. In this channel, you also have meditations designed to help you integrate all of this into your body and your internal state. Now that you understand how frequency works, they will be even more powerful for you. You can explore them whenever you want. They are here to accompany your transformation.